Welcome to our financial wellness webinar. So let's get started. First of all, I want to congratulate you for showing up today to learn how to secure the bag. So let me quickly introduce you to us, just in case you're not familiar with us. I'm Roseanne Uwague, and I'm a life strategist and productivity coach. I worked in human resources for 10 years. I worked in finance with Tiffany the Budgetnista Aliche for 2 years. And I've been doing coaching for as long as I can remember, but officially for the last 2 to 3 years. My coaching is focused on helping my clients experience work-life balance, which I like to call harmony. And what that really means is just making sure that all the things work together. Whole life prosperity, health, wealth, positive relationships, impact, abundance, happiness, joy, material things, passion, growth. Did I say everything? Yes, everything working together, including your finances. And now onto my amazing co-host, Lisa Lickers-Ricks. She is a partner at a Fortune 100 company who has worked her way all the way up the corporate ladder. She's also the founder of the Young Women's Empowerment Academy. For those of you who know her personally, you know a bio will never suffice. She is so many things to so many people. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's a daughter, an activist in her community, she's a philanthropist, and so much more. So now I want to turn it over to Lisa so that she can share, why is it that we're here? What is financial wellness?
Yes, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to be here and to be able to share with you the things that I'm truly passionate about. Thank you so much, Roseanne, for the amazing introduction. I really appreciate that. And I'm excited because finance is what I get to do on a day-to-day basis. You know, my team and I, we get to go out and we get to educate and empower our communities to be able to make informed decisions. And so to pair up with Roseanne was just an amazing opportunity for us to really dive into what is financial wellness, right? So many people teach us how to secure the bag, how to do this, how to do that, how to make the money, but how does it go along with our well-being and our self-care and all of those things, right? Because it doesn't help to have all the money in the world and be too sick or too stressed out or too exhausted to be able to enjoy it, right? And so that's what we want to do more of. So today we want to talk to you about financial wellness. At its core, financial wellness is a state of well-being that's achieved and maintained when you know what you have, you know where you're headed, and you feel good about it, right? That means that anyone can get there. No matter where you are in your financial journey or how much money you have or don't have, everyone deserves to feel confident and in control of their finances. And the practice of financial wellness is adaptable and attainable for everybody. And so that's the thing that I love the most, is that it literally is for everyone. So many times people teach about, you know, financial freedom and debt management, or being debt free, all of these different things that you hear. And some people, if you're in a situation that's not so good or in over your head in debt, you may not feel like it's something that you can achieve, so you don't pay attention, you don't apply those principles. But today we're here to tell you and teach you that financial wellness is something that we all can achieve. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the components of financial wellness, right? And we know, just like building a house, right? You have to start with the foundation, and that foundation has to be solid and secure in order for you to build upon. So it's no different when we talk about financial wellness. We have to start with your foundation. This is made up of the core building blocks that help create or maintain financial security. And then we move on to the plan, right? We know that we all have to have a plan. We have to get very clear and very intentional of the things that we want to do for our life. That way we can have strategy for it and begin to execute it. So your plan is the strategy you follow to help get you and your money where you want it to go in life, right? We don't want our money to tell us what to do. We want to be in control of our money. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the third thing is your mindset, right? A healthy relationship with not only your money, but also your own ability to manage it. That is so important. And so before I pass it over to Roseanne to tell us about the importance of financial wellness and why all of this, what all this means, and why is it important that we understand this, I want to dig a little bit into these three key pieces just to give you at least three strategies on each of these, or three ideals of what the components of financial wellness consist of. So let's start with building your foundation, right? The first thing that you want to do is familiarize yourself with where your money goes, right? And we'll talk about this in a little bit. People hate the B word, right? Budget. They don't want anybody trying to restrict them or telling them what to do with their money that they work so hard to get. And, all the different things that you hear from people. I don't know about you, but I know me being in the financial space and doing financial planning with people and working with people, I hear it every single day. And so what I want to share with you is that it is important that you have a plan for your money. You have a plan for your life. You have a vision for every single area of your life. Why is it any different than your finances, right? And so we really want to stress and emphasize the importance of that. So get really familiar with where your money is going. And we'll talk about that and give you some key strategies on that and making sure that you have a solid understanding of that. Number two, take the free money. Stop leaving money on the table. If you are with a company that has any type of retirement plan that matches you, make sure that you understand what that match is, how much you have to contribute in order for them to match, and maximize that. You do not want to leave free money on the table. That's literally the number one rule in finances, is take the free money. Okay. Number three, you have to have an emergency savings, right? You have to have an emergency fund. We all know this, or should have learned this from everything that we experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So many people found themselves without a job, found themselves in situations where, with their businesses, where businesses had to close, if you had a brick and mortar, all of these different things that people experience, because a lot of people weren't prepared for that, right? So that is the importance of having a fully funded emergency savings and understanding what that means for you and your family. So those are just three basic components that I wanted to touch on the foundation. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the plan as well. So let's touch on the top three for those. Your core values. Again, we got to know where we're going. We got to know what things are important to us. What are your financial values for your life, for your family? Are you married? Are you and your spouse on the same page when it comes to finances? Do you have children? Have you included them in conversations around money, or to teach them good money habits? Or are they just learning from your mistakes, right? You have to have core beliefs and values surrounding money, and make sure that those that are around you have that same vision, or you can at least be able to share that with them, especially if you're working towards the same goal, right? In addition to that, we're back to the B word again, a budget that works for you. We cannot get around it. And I'm going to talk to you in a little while about some other things that you can call it and how you can change your mindset around it. But at the end of the day, we have to have a budget. You have to have something that's going to be able to work for you, and where you can begin to tell your money where you want it to go. And the final thing when it comes to your plan is priorities. You have to be able to prioritize your financial goals in order for them to be able to work for you, right? You got to have short-term and long-term goals. Where do you see yourself financially over the next year? Where do you want to, sometimes you got to reverse engineer and start with the end in mind, right? Where do you want to see yourself and your family 5 years from now, right? And then let's work backwards. How can we start doing things right now in the next year? How can we start doing things in the next quarter, in the next 90 days? What can we start doing on a weekly and daily basis to be able to get us to that final place that we want to be for us and our family? And so I think that's so important, to be able to know what that goal is and then prioritize as you begin to work towards those things. And the last thing I want to touch on before I pass it over to Roseanne to talk about the importance of these things and the financial wellness is mindset, right? The first thing we have to do is identify and unlearn the harmful myths that are keeping our relationships with money in a bad place, right? That is the first thing. You have to get to the core of that and why you think the way that you think. Where is these things coming from? Why do I have a bad relationship with money? What myths and what things am I believing? And Roseanne is going to touch on that a little bit more. And then number two, get comfortable talking about money with others. That is so important that we make sure that we're okay with talking about money and finances with others, especially our spouses and especially our children, right? If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? So if we're too scared to talk about the things, to talk about the money problems or any of those things, it all just continues to make things worse. So it does not create a healthy financial wellness for you. And then the last thing when it comes to mindset is give yourself permission to use money in a way that makes you feel good. That is so important that we don't necessarily restrict ourselves, right? And that's what we're going to talk about this B word, this budget thing, right? Is that it's not meant for you to like restrict yourself. It's meant for you to be able to say yes in other areas. So without getting too much into, detail and, filling, a little bit or, sharing more about what we're going to talk about in a few, I'm going to pass it over to Roseanne and see what information she wants to add on these topics.
Thank you, Lisa. And what I love the most about wellness and when you're creating harmony in your life, it's whatever that means to you, right? So it's not that we're going to say, here's the blueprint, you need to do this. This is what success looks like. This is what productivity looks like. This is what financial wellness looks like. That's not what it is. You literally get to design it to fit your blueprint, to fit your lifestyle. So whatever that means to you, financial wellness to one person may be different. So you get to customize it and tailor make it so that it fits you, your family, and your lifestyle. So when we talk about financial wellness, just like physical wellness, this isn't something that you should ignore. Financial wellness really refers to having a happy, healthy, and a relatively stress-free relationship with your finances, right? So just like how I talk about your relationship with time and your relationship with yourself, you have a relationship with your finances as well. So to just sum up everything that Lisa said, simply put, financial wellness is making sure that you are able to cover your expenses with your income, right? So you're making more than you're spending. Second, you want to make sure that you have savings for emergencies, regardless of what's going on. It could be a health condition, it could be something with the house, it could be some emergency that comes up. You want to have that cushion that every financial upset is not a setback, right? And then you want to make sure that you're always saving and working towards your long-term financial goals. What are your plans for retirement? What are your plans for estate planning? Also, the freedom to make choices that allow you to enjoy your life. It shouldn't be to the point where you can't decide to get a manicure. You can't decide to get some sneakers because you're so much in debt, right? Financial wellness allows you to have those things that you enjoy. And lastly, the ability to help others so that you can create a lasting legacy. So next, I'm going to talk about the importance of financial wellness, right? Why is this important? Like I said, it's something that you create for yourself, but truly, you've heard the term health is wealth. Financial wellness is critical for all people. It's critical for everyone because it can actually help to lower your stress. When you think of, sometimes people call and you're like, hey, how are you? Oh, I don't have any money. Okay. They're always stressed. They're always thinking about how much money they don't have. And that stress related to money can affect every aspect of your life. If you're talking to someone like that, it may even start to affect your relationship, your social relationship, because that may not be the energy that you want to attract in your life, right? So if you have someone who's always negative, after a while, unconsciously, you're going to stop calling that person because every time you speak to them, it's another money story, right? So your personal and professional productivity can also suffer because of financial worry. We don't want you up at night thinking about money. We don't want you early in the morning thinking, how am I going to pay these bills? We want you to be well, and finances is a major part of that. I was telling Lisa that I looked up the major causes of divorce and death and sickness. And it was funny that the major cause of divorce is number one, extramarital affairs, so cheating. Number two, money. Couples were breaking up because of financial disagreements, because one person didn't agree with how money was spent. So literally people are canceling their love vows over money. Money is not everything, but money sure is important. So if you're focused on financial wellness, you want to make sure that you're working on your long-term goals. As a result of doing that, you are able to enjoy the present, but also your future. So then, I'm a productivity coach. What does finances have to do with productivity and self-care? Everything. Why do most people work? You may say, oh, some people work because they have a solution that they want to share with the world, or they're passionate about their job. They want to help people, or they want to make an impact. But the vast majority of people work for money. That's why so many people are burned out, because either they're living paycheck to paycheck and there's never enough money, or they envision this lifestyle, but it just seems so elusive that they can't get to it. So they have a vision for how they want to live, but their money is not lining up. So when a client comes to me and they say, oh, they're stressed or they're burned out or they're tired or something like that, obviously I'm not going to tell them to quit their job, because stable bills require stable income. But at the same time, I can't tell them to do something that may relieve their stress if it costs money, because they can't afford it. So you see how it becomes this vicious cycle where your productivity and your self-care and your wellness is affected by your finances, by your money. So the last thing I'll say is that money is a tool. Money is something that should be used as a blessing. So if you need help and I don't have any money, then I can't help. But when I have financial wealth and I'm walking in abundance, financial abundance, then my money's working for me when I sleep, and now I can help you. So the reason most people aren't even thinking about estate planning or life insurance or retirement or generational wealth is because they're barely making it through the day. So we definitely know the importance of a budget, and we want to go ahead and start talking about a budget. A budget is an infrastructure. So let's talk about how a budget can help you. When you hear the word budget, does it trigger you? Is a budget your friend? When you hear the word budget, do you hear no, 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 no? Right? I mean, sometimes a budget may say later or not now or no, but it's really helping you to say yes to something bigger. So Lisa, talk to us about why it's important to have a budget, and why people dislike the B word so much. Like, what is this relationship with the B word that people can't seem to heal?
Yes. And I think that it all stems from programming, right? We've been programmed to believe that having a budget is saying no to yourself, is saying no to, oh, you worked every day this week and you made all of this money. Now you can't celebrate or enjoy yourself, right? But we want you to shift your mindset to actually understanding that it actually allows you to say yes to the things that are really important. One thing that I love about Tiffany Aliche, the Budgetnista, is that she really helped me begin to identify the things in my life that I really love, right? And when I'm saying yes to all of these smaller things that I'm spending money on frivolously, right? I'm really saying no to the things that I love. And so I want to teach you all, and our goal is to teach you all to flip that around, right? To say no to the things that aren't as important so that you can say yes to more of what you love, right? And so when it comes to budget, begin to just think of some of the things that you really love, right? And I always say, like, it helped me really identify my two loves, and that is travel and that is giving back. So the Young Women's Empowerment Academy is one of the ways that I give back to, doing mentorship and giving back to young women in my community, because that is what I'm passionate about doing. So I don't mind spending money on those two things. Like, I don't care how much it costs to go on a vacation. I don't care how much it costs to, help my girls go off to college, or they need books, or, whatever it is they need. Those two I don't have any limits on, right? But what it allowed me to be able to do, and there's a bracelet, right? And it has, do you need it? Do you like it? Do you just want it? Or do you love it? Right? And so the bracelet that the Budgetnista wears, she begins to really show you and put into perspective for you. When I make this purchase, is it something that I actually need or something that I just like, right? If it's not something that I actually need, and it's just a want, or it's just something that I, kind of like, it would be nice to have, then I'm taken away from these things that I've identified that I really love, right? And for me, that's travel. And to me, that's giving back to my community. And so once I got that mindset and I began to change that, I realize, again, budget isn't a bad word, right? It is just allowing me to be able to say yes to more of those things that I love. And so I challenge you today to begin to identify, what are your loves? What are the things that you really, really would do no matter what, no matter how much it costs, no matter if you had the most money in the world or no money in the world, right? What is it that you really are passionate about and love to do, and figure out ways that you can do more of that. And I honestly promise you that if you get really good at doing a budget, or what I like to call, now that I understand how much people hate budget, I like to call it like a cash flow plan or a spending plan, right? Because if you do this and you do it properly and you do it consistently, it will truly allow you to have more cash flow and be able to flow into other things that you really love to do. So when you identify what that cash flow is at the end of the month, now you can share it on vacation. Now you can give back to charities. Now you can do more of what you love because you've identified what that amount is, and you're in more control. And so that's what I love most about it. And so next up, I want to talk to and have Roseanne share with you some of the money myths that are really stopping us from being successful and allowing us to really be able to flow into financial wellness the way that we would like to.
Lisa, you really nailed it. Like, when you talk about just being able to say yes to yourself, that's what it is. So, when we don't know what to say yes to, we just end up saying yes to these frivolous things or these low value, short-lived pleasures. It doesn't keep you in alignment, but that budget will help to keep you in alignment, right? So if I say, hey, let's go spend $300 at a steakhouse, you're like, $300, I'm going to be hungry in an hour, or I can spend some days on the beach for $300, right? If travel is what's important to you, that $300 steak means nothing to you, and you're going to be able to say no to this so you can say yes to a bigger yes. So it really allows you to make your money say yes to you. So don't think of it as a no, 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 no document. It's really a spreadsheet that says, you want to say a big yes? This is how you do it. So when we talk about the money myths, it's your story, it's the narrative, it's even the lies, the beliefs. The money story is a narrative that we make up about money, and it affects our financial beliefs. A lot of this is cultural and generational, right? So maybe you'll hear people say, money doesn't grow on a tree, or I have holes in my pocket because every time I get paid, I lose my money, or I can't find my money. You hear people make jokes about this, but you hear it so much that it starts to get ingrained in your mindset if you don't renew it, right? So we've heard family members say things, and even from a cultural standpoint, in America, money can sometimes be a taboo topic. Like, it may be rude to ask someone how much money that they make. Whereas in other cultures, they talk about it so freely. So I think for some people, it's a poverty mindset or a scarcity mindset, but for others, it's actually a fear of success, because they may get a job and then they see their paycheck and they're like, whoa, who am I to be making all this money? And then now the imposter syndrome sets in, where they're like, oh, they're going to find out that I'm not worth this. They're going to take this back. So there are all these money stories that we tell ourselves. One thing Lisa and I talk about a lot is how people will say money is evil, right? Some people say money is the root of all evil. Some people say the love of money, which is the accurate version, is the root of all evil. But money by itself is not evil. Money is not the root of all evil. If you think about charity and philanthropy, it's money that we're using as a tool to bless others. So money is not evil. So a lot of these other money stories, and I want you to start thinking about your own as I'm sharing some. You'll hear people say, if I had more money, XYZ wouldn't be a problem. If I had more money, I would be happier. If I had more money, this. So you put so much pressure on if I had this thing, and you kind of mortgage your happiness until you get there. The issue is what you're doing is creating either a self-fulfilling prophecy of the thing not happening, or a reinforcement loop that says, I don't have money and it's because of this. And then it just keeps happening. You're like, see, I told you. Well, you said it. Yes, and that's why it's happening. So, some people say, I'll never pay off this debt, or I can't earn enough to get ahead, or, I'll never have the peace of mind that I need until I start making more money. We can't hang our lifestyles on these kinds of quotes. Math is not your problem. Self-management is the problem. Financial management is the problem. And your financial picture, unfortunately, is not going to change until you realize that it's the management of money that's the issue. So I want to make sure that when you start to feel that you're struggling with this, that you start to think of your vision. What is the vision that you have for your life? What is the vision that you have for your money? Where do you want to go? Where do you want your money to go? What do you want it to do? Right? So just start to think of these money myths, like really think through, set time aside to say, what is my money story? What have I told myself? Did I tell myself that having too much money is greed? Because honestly speaking, I've heard so many comments about, people are not supposed to be so wealthy, they're just greedy. And what I realized is that the person who says, oh, I just want enough money for me and my family, there's nothing noble about that. There's nothing humble about that. That is selfishness. If I go to Lisa and I say, Lisa, such and so had a situation. Can we pull some money together to help them out of the situation? If Lisa had the mindset of, I only have enough money for my family, she can't help anyone else. How can she do the Young Women's Empowerment Academy without money as the tool to get these girls what they need? How can I help anyone except myself if I don't have enough money? So money really is a tool. Money is something that you can use. And what's important is that it really doesn't matter how much money you have, because anywhere you go, there you are. So if you have a poor mindset and you get $1 million, the mindset is going to be there with your $1 million. And the next thing we know, you're on the news bankrupt. But that's not what we want for you. And that's where we're having this financial webinar. All right. So we want to talk about some practical tips and some quick wins that you can apply. Do not be that person who's always learning and never applying. Implement what you hear. Get the information that you need, but do the work.
Absolutely. I love that, Roseanne. And just to piggyback on some of the things that you talked about, one of the things that I want people to understand is that money is not the goal, right? Like Roseanne said, money is the tool that's going to get us all of the great things that we want to have in life, right? But it's not just the goal to have all the money in the world, right? What do you want to do with that, right? And so I think that's important to get clarity and to get vision on the things that it is that you want to do. And then one of the things that I wanted to touch on before I just talk to you a little bit more about like the power of your mindset and why mindset is important, like we talked about, is one of the things that I learned. I think like anything that you read or learn, you should be able to apply it like immediately, right? Or it should be something like at least one takeaway that you take away from it. So I remember reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad years ago. The one thing that really sticks out to me, like there were so many great lessons in the book, but the one thing that I remember vividly is, again, the power of your mind, which is what we're going to talk about here, is that if you tell your mind, right, that I can't afford that, right? So there's a new car that you want or a new house, and you're like, oh, I can't afford that house. I'll never be able to buy a house. Your brain shuts down. Your mind stops working. There's nothing for it to do because you already told it what you needed to tell it, that it can't do anything, right? You can't figure out how you can get this sort of thing for me. I can't afford it. So your brain like, okay, I agree with you. You can't. All right. Go on about your life, right? The power in how you phrase things and what you tell and what you speak to your mind is so important. If you rephrase that and say, how can I afford that? Your mind begins to work for you and gets creative on ways that you can begin to afford the things that you want in life, right? So it may tell you and begin to identify like, oh, you're really good at this, this, and this. How can we monetize this to allow you to be able to make that, right? Maybe it's not feasible for you to go get a second job or a third job to be able to make money, to save money for whatever it is. But maybe there's things that you're able to do that you're naturally talented and gifted at that you can then monetize and turn into a business, you know, an additional stream of income. So you never know what that is, but your mind is so powerful. So as we transition into this, I just want to tell you to be really mindful of what you say. Like we talked about, whether you say you can or you can't, in both instances, you're right, right? Because it's the power of your mind and what you believe. And so also what we know is that when you begin to believe things and you think it, if you don't cast down those negative thoughts and automatically like, you know, replace them with a positive thought, we begin to speak those things. So like Roseanne said, you know, we say things like, oh, I'm broke. No, I'm not broke. I'm in between blessings. Change your mindset, change your speech, right? There's so many different things that we say in regards to, oh, it's one thing after another. Nothing good ever happens to me. I always tell anybody that's around me, if you say so, that's what it is, right? That's why you wonder why things keep happening, negative things keep happening. It's the laws of attraction. Like what you put out is what you get back. So you always putting out negative, you always thinking negative, negative things are going to come, right? And so I want to challenge you to really get clear, like we talked about, on your vision for money, but also write out some money affirmations that will help you change your money mindset. Some of them are listed here. I believe in my skill and ability. I am wealthy in more ways than one. I have the power to create my own success and live the life that I truly want. I am grateful for the abundance that I have. I control my money. My money does not control me. I am tuned into the flow of prosperity. I become richer every day, and I am a money magnet, right? These are just some things that you can begin to say and to share, and you can even write your own, like whatever those things are that's important to you, begin to write your own, right? But understand that there's power in your mind, power in your words, okay? And just like Roseanne talked about, we're actually going to give you some practical tips today, right? We don't believe in just telling you what to do. We want to show you how to do it. And we also want to provide you with tools and resources to be able to do it. So we're going to talk about like some quick wins and some tips on how you can improve your financial wellness starting today. The first thing is what we talked about, right? Shifting our mindset from the budget to now we want to figure out what our cash flow statement is. What is our spending plan, right? And so this is something that we're going to email to you so that you will be able to have that cash flow plan, right? You have that statement, you have something that you can work towards, and you're going to do that every single month, right? You're going to make sure that you're proactive for the month ahead. So the way that the cash flow statement works is that pretty much everything that you can think of that you would spend money on, it's on that cash flow statement. And you're going to allot the amount of money that you bring home compared to the amount of money that's going out, so that at the end of the month, you can see what your cash flow should look like, right? And that's so important because if we don't know what to expect, or we don't know like how much money we should have left over every month, it's hard for us to, again, control our money and tell it where we want it to go. And so that's very important. So we want you to get really intentional about having a cash flow plan every single month, right? And I'm going to let Roseanne talk to you a little bit about how you can go about assessing your money mindset and why that's important.
Absolutely. And also with the cash flow statement, what I want you to remember is that tracking your spending is different from creating a cash flow statement, right? So if you're saying spend 500 on Uber, let me write it down. That is reactive. We want you to be proactive to where you're saying, how much do I want to allot for this? One of the things Lisa and I talk about is the envelope system. And I think that's from Dave Ramsey, where if you want to spend a certain amount of money and you don't want to use your cards because you know that you're reckless with your credit card swiping, then you say, all right, here's $100 in my eating out budget. Here is $500 in this budget. Once that money's done, you have no more money for this month to spend, right? But it allows you to have an extra layer of accountability versus just spending, or even worse, having things automatically coming out. of your account. So even with the cash flow statement, you want to make sure that you're looking at your subscriptions. What is it that you're subscribing to? Lisa talked about something that you love, right? If you love travel, or if you love reading like I do, then there's some subscriptions that are going to make sense. If you're subscribed to maybe Kindle where you're paying for something, or Audible, then that makes sense because it's a part of your passion. But if you've never read a book in the last 10 years, you probably do not need to be paying for a reading subscription. Think about some of your other bills and finances. I'm okay with you Netflixing and chilling because you work hard. However, look at your spending. Is a package coming from Amazon every day? Are you eating out every day, taking Ubers all over the place? Look at your spending, and then you'll be able to make an informed decision, which goes into assessing your money mindset. Why, when you look at that spending, you'll start to think, okay, why is it that I ate out so much? Was it because I didn't prepare in advance for what I needed? Is it because I just felt, well, I make money, I should be able to eat out whenever I want to? Start thinking about the choices that you're making and see how your mindset is linked to that, right? If you're the person who you go grocery shopping every month and then just take it from the fridge and throw it in the garbage because you haven't cooked all month, why is it that you're doing that? When you go shopping, are you shopping because you said, this is what I'm going to use to treat myself, to celebrate? Or are you shopping because you're stressed and now this is retail therapy? Really assess your money mindset. Think through your money story. Think through the myths. Think through the things that you've heard generationally and culturally, and see if it aligns. You have to unlearn some things. So we're going to talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, because when you think of everything just being holistic, everything plays into each other. So right now we're talking about finances, which is one of the dimensions of wellness, but there's also occupational, your career. There is social, there's spiritual, there's emotional, right? So when you think of all these dimensions, all of them work with each other. So that's why it's so important that you think about your wellness, because everything is playing and working together. You always want to make sure that all these dimensions are nicely aligned. So for social, you want to make sure that your relationships are aligned with your spiritual values, right? So just making sure that you have a holistic assessment and alignment going on. Lisa, talk to us about those bank statements.
Yes, that part, right? A lot of us, we want to talk about the, cash flow. That sounds good. Okay, how much money I'm going to have. But if we're being really realistic, we want to go back and we want to assess those bank statements, right? And then we want to be able to identify at least 2 unnecessary habits of what it is that we're doing that is not serving us, that is not allowing us to do the things that we really love to do because we're spending money unnecessarily, right? If you're going to Starbucks every day and buying a $5 latte or caramel macchiato, right? How much does that add to per year, right? If you add that up per week, per month, per year, whereas if you would have just went and brought a latte machine and just had at home, it might have been $100 investment, but guess how much money you would have saved over the year, right? And so you really have to begin to identify those things and really begin to see how that works for you. And so you have to go back and reconcile your previous month statement and identify any unnecessary spending. And then, we tap into and we talk about identifying the root cause of your poor spending habits. So as you begin to identify that, why am I spending the way that I'm spending? Is it because, I may have grew up in a single parent home and we didn't have a lot of things. So my parents wasn't able to buy us a lot of things. So now I'm trying to compensate for that. Am I a single mom? And now because, my child's, I'm their only parent, right? Am I trying to overcompensate for that other person not being there? So I'm buying my kids all of these unnecessary things. And so as a mom, that was one thing that I wanted to make sure I was intentional about, is that not buying all of the things that I wish my kids, that I wish I had, or whatever, the saying is, but teaching them wish the things that I wished I would have been taught, right? And so I think that's just taking it a step further and being more intentional about not only our financial wellness, but also the things that we pass down to the next generation. So I think, again, those are the top 5 tips that we're leaving for you today to be able to improve your financial wellness. And these things are really going to help you as you map out and get clarity of what your goals are and what it is that you want to do in the future. Ro, anything you want to add to those?
Yeah, so for identifying the root cause of your poor spending habits, for some people, holidays, it's a big thing, right? You want to make sure that you're spending all this money and you're doing all this. And again, why are you doing it? Is it because you like to celebrate? Is it because you're trying to overcompensate for something? Is it because, when you were young, you didn't get this, and I'm going to make sure my children have this and never lack? A lot of times we do something the exact opposite of how we were raised. Sometimes we do the same thing, or sometimes we try to create our own blueprint. So let's get into how we can connect and how you can learn more about what we do.
Yes, that part. This is the favorite part that I love about it. So now that you know what it is that you want to do and that you want to create financial wellness for you and your family, now it's time to take it a step further. So schedule a complimentary one-on-one financial planning session to start you on your way to financial wellness, right? So these are ways that you can do it. We are also going to share in the follow-up email that will be sent out to everyone in attendance that will have that information for how you can book that. In addition to that, if you want to take it a step further and say, hey, I want to be that person that begins to educate my community and help empower them when it comes to finances, reach out to me. I would love to schedule a time to meet with you, go over an overview of the career, and just show you how you can really make an impact, right? Not only for your family and the financial freedom and wellness that it creates for you, but then also those that you go out and that you empower. And so, Roseanne, you want to share with them how they can reach you?
So you can reach me by email or on my website. And if you go to my website, you will find a ton of resources and you'll learn how we can better serve you. So we can schedule a call to learn what strategy you need, what do you need in terms of clarity, accountability. We would love to talk to you. So go ahead and reach out to us.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, let's just talk a little bit about why we're here today, right? Roseanne and I, we are committed and very intentional about being who we needed when we were younger, right? And so that's what the Young Women's Empowerment Academy is all about. It's about reaching back into that next generation and helping somebody else, helping them to develop that strong foundation and helping them really be everything it is that they need to be successful, right? Giving them the tools and resources in order to be able to do that. And by you connecting with us and being a part of these amazing, life-changing, I call it, I think, but I might be a little bit biased, but these seminars and webinars where we're really pouring out and sharing with you the things that you can do to be successful, you are not only helping yourself, but you're paying it forward and helping another young lady in your community. Young Women's Empowerment Academy started in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, almost 5 years ago. However, it is now in multiple states. There are physical locations. There's a virtual academy. We have business and leadership programs. Our girls are going to trade schools, to colleges, starting their own business, writing their own books. And so when I talk about impact, this is the impact that we're making. And it really starts with you. I love this saying, be who you needed when you were younger. I cannot stress that to you enough. The change that we want to see in this world, it really starts with us. And so if you want to be a part of the change, you want to be a part of impacting the next generation, visit our website at www.yweacademy.com and be a part of everything that we're doing. You want to be a volunteer. You have a young lady between the ages of 7 and 18. You're a business owner that want to allow an opportunity for young girls to intern with your program, or you may even want to open up a chapter in your state, right? Whatever that looks like, reach out and again, be the change that you want to see. And so we thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you spending the time with us today. And we hope that you got something out of today and that you will truly be intentional about your financial wellness in this season, and that you will follow up on those things that we'll share with you to make sure that you'll get the impact that you need. Have a great day.
And yes, we are challenging you. Do not just let this be another thing that you learn, another thing that you heard. Take some time to go through your money mindset, go through your budget, go through your bank statements, do the work, and reach out to us if you need support. We're here to help. See you.
Absolutely. Bye.